Welcome to this edition of The Bridge Show, and what a show we have for you this Tuesday. It is Tuesday, 1st of September. No, it's December! Holy Moses! It's December, and if you haven't watched our Christmas calendar, please do. But this time it's The Bridge Show. And welcome to the show live from our IP studio in the Oslo HQ basement. And we have in the red chair Frank. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
He is the absolute dedicated expert for anything that resembles what we're going to talk about today. And what are we going to talk about today?
It's something old and still very good. ETR290.
You know, it's old, yes, it's a golden oldie, but it will never die, will it?
It's a bit like TCP IP. It will always be there.
That's also very old, actually.
Yeah.
But you know, the correct thing about TR290, because we always say ETR290, but it's actually SCTR101 290. That's a mouthful. Holy Moses.
Yeah. Version 1.14 or something.
Oh my goodness. The level of detail here, but it's all about precision, isn't it?
Yeah. So when we got MPEG with transport streams, then there was quickly a European version called DVB.
Yeah.
And they were very smart in that they defined a set of monitoring guidelines along with the specification itself. So not just the specification, but also how to monitor it, which makes life a lot easier because everyone then has a norm for what a transport stream should be, and all the vendors can use the same set of metrics to verify the signals.
Yeah, because that's exactly what is necessary, that everybody plays by the same rules, so that everybody can compare, you know, apples and apples and oranges and oranges.
Yes, and it makes finding the problem a lot easier, and you have a set of norms which you should adhere to in all cases, which is something that has been lacking in some of the other broadcast parts, like OTT. So
that's very true, and you know, most people believe broadcast is relatively simple. It's an image and there is some audio, and that's it. But then again, you know, it's super complex. It's signaling of commercial breaks. It's you know, teletext. It's all the different synchronization mechanisms that talks to hardware here and there, and that was the key reason why transport stream encapsulation was invented in the first place. Yeah,
and it makes all the equipment from a lot of vendors interoperable. So all types of equipment can be used, and as a service provider, you can then pick and choose whatever equipment you like, and it all works together.
That's what they like. And of course, none of this is easy unless you actually understand what's happening. That means having a full ETR290 analyzer handy.
That's correct. And as luck will have it, you can get it from us.
That's very true. Listen carefully. We'll say this only once. Go and buy a Bridge Technologies Analyser. We actually have it in every single product that we manufacture, very close to.
Yeah.
But we are not going to be all talk today, because today we are going to demonstrate what we actually are talking about, and also the extreme capabilities of our analyzer. And for that, we have a marvelous presenter which is going to help us with that. Hello, Rolf. That is excellent. And we are going to then showcase. And let's just start from the beginning, because you know, we just launched a new version of the extremely capable VB330, which is the version 6 appliance.
It has lots of new features, but perhaps the biggest revolution comes in numbers.
Well, let's talk numbers. Let's actually show off a bit here, because what you're looking at on the screen right now is how many, Frank?
It's the digit 1 followed by 30 or 1000 as it's more commonly known. As you can see, Rolf has to do quite a bit of scrolling to get through them all. As luck will have it, we have a search field as well, so we don't really have to scroll through all of them. But this new version now supports up to 1000 streams in parallel.
That's just awesome. I mean, really. And of course, all this is done within, or the presentation layer is done within a web browser.
That's
so that you can now have access to...
Still web browser for everything.
Yes, that's great.
And it's important to say, we do all the ETR priorities, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So we're not just doing 1 and 2 like some others have been known to do.
Yeah, let's not diss them, poor fellows. We can be proud of what we have. But let's move forward to the detail page, because what we were looking at was the micro ETR, which gives you an overview.
Yeah, and the micro ETR is basically a very small, scaled-down version of what you see when you click into it.
Yeah.
And here you can now then see all the full details of the signal. And you can see what the ETR290 specification list, priority 1, 2, and 3, based on how critical it will be for the stream if something is lost.
So that means that basically priority 3 not that critical, priority 1 a bit more critical.
Yeah, so priority 1 can be full of signal, but priority 3 maybe be that you won't have any program guides, which is not that critical.
No. That's very true. And as we demonstrate here, you can go actually straight into analytics mode from then the ETR overview page and actually have an overview of table repetition rates and all these great numbers. Yeah.
So typically you see something that's red, you know that you have a problem. Yeah. You click on that, you get up the details page, and you can then see which checks have a problem. So you can, for instance, have an SC repetition rate problem, maybe the PCR timing is off, and you can then go in and easily get the full details very easily with just one click.
Yeah. Holy Moses. And there's a lot of checks, because one thing is priority 1, 2, and 3, which is basically the standard rudimentary checks, which is listed in the ETR290 checks. But we have a lot more, right?
Yes. We have extended the checks already defined in the ETR spec.
Yeah.
So for instance, it's good to check the path table to see that it's correct.
Yeah.
But also an empty table is correct, and maybe you know that I got 5 services in my signal.
Oh my
So then you can set up an alarm. If the number of services is too low, we get an alarm. Similar for all the other tables defined in ETR290.
And also conditional access checks, which is very, very important.
Yes. Quite a lot of the problems that happens with live signals is related to the CA system.
Yeah.
It's very nice to have a secure encrypted signal, but it's of no value at all if the viewers can't descramble it.
That's very, very true. Sorry, Frank.
And quite often, by doing the monitoring, you can detect problems before it's present for the customers. You can get an early warning that, oh, you're not sending out the ECMs and EMMs like you should, and you get an early warning that when the keys expire, you will lose your signal.
Yeah. But if we move forward into the different PIDs, because, you know, encapsulation is all about encapsulating something, and everything is transmitted via PIDs, right?
Yeah. So all the data have a PID, and you have...
And here we see the full table. That's all the PIDs there is in this MPTS.
Yes, that's correct. And you have some metadata information. You have the PAT and PMT tables, which are always present. And then typically you have some more service information like the STT. And then you have the different components of the services. So you have typically audio and video, and quite often teletext, subtitling.
If we go into the services, because you know, this gives us an overview of PIDs, but if we actually go into services, you can see that the service tree, and there we can go into all the necessary details of the service.
And you get the list of the components for each service. You can see the PCR PID, you can see the types of PIDs used. You can see what type of audio do you have. Is it an old MP3 or is it AC3? And you get lots of information, and it's also possible then to get up the thumbnails for the screen. So it's all then integrated with the ETR monitoring as well. And
this is awesome. And basically that means that you can attack the problem from different kind of angles. You can look at it from a PID level, or you can look at it from a service level, but you'll be able to, go into the nitty-gritty of what's actually contained there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of details.
Yeah.
And you can go in and, for instance, see all the low-level tables that are in the stream.
That basically, here you have the table overviews. Holy Moses.
And you can view the data in two ways.
Yep.
It's either a human readable format, like we see right now, or it's the low-level binary stuff.
You can go down to hex code.
You can go down to hex code and see the bits in the stream.
I'm curious. Who actually needs that?
Quite a few, actually. Lots of people love that feature, and when we meet them, for instance, at trade show, they dive right in and go to, oh, there's some bit here. How can we decode this properly? Yeah,
because again, it's like, on the IP layer, we can do a packet capture and go straight into the contents of the packet, which basically also is hex. And here you can do the same with the program identification tables.
Yeah, so you can be on the top level, or you can really dive into the actual bits of the signal.
And of course, not to brag a bit here, but this is for all 1,000 streams, right?
All 1,000 streams in parallel.
Holy Moses. Okay, guys, you just have to, this is extraordinary, no doubt about that. But let's move on, because one thing is to be able to dive that kind of deep, but you have a very handy bitrate overview as well.
Yeah, quite often the signals vary in bitrate. Then it's very useful to see the minimum, maximum, and also the live bitrate. So especially on satellite, they want to really use the bandwidth to its fullest potential. And if you then, for instance, have a football match on one of the services in that signal, you want to have as much bandwidth as possible for that, because panning across the audience really requires a lot of bandwidth to get proper videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means that, for instance, StatMux systems, you can really get an overview of what's happening within the StatMux here.
Yeah.
And also you can put threshold. We can see the dark blue areas, which is then threshold settings, when you then can set the minimum and maximum kind of bandwidth it should be within.
Yeah, and you can then get alarms if it goes too high or too low, which saves you a lot of trouble.
No kidding. This is just, oh boy, I'm blown away. Okay, we went to the tables overview and we looked at some of the tables, which again, you can go down into hex mode or you can have it decoded, basically. But I want to go back to the overview page one more, because there is one absolutely phenomenal thing, which is the alarm overview.
It is.
Because one thing is to get the alarms, of course, which is kind of nice, but you have the alarm graph, which is kind of crazy. You can dive deep into, what actually have been going on for quite some time.
And it's a lot easier than just going through lots of logs of alarms. You can then see it over time and see which problem has occurred at a certain time.
Yeah, because I can see we have something which is very uncommon, which is a perfect stream, which has been, perfect for 4 days.
Yeah, has had some problems here, but overall it's been very well behaved.
Absolutely. Because as you say, yes, I can see some errors. This is awesome. And that means that basically you have then priority 1 errors happening, basically, 20 hours ago, and that is awesome.
Yeah, the signals have had some CC errors. You can then also go in and see the PIDs.
Continuity and sync problems.
Yeah.
And all in the name of being able to fault find faster, so that you don't spend a lot of time, investigating some of the causes of the problem.
Yeah, the amount of data being monitored is so huge that you need to be able to pinpoint the problems really fast.
Yeah.
Because if you have to go through all the numbers yourself, you will have 100 people doing that per probe.
Yeah.
So having the high level and making the difficult easy, it's really the trick.
Well, let's just briefly touch upon some other uses, because one thing is that we have SCT35 Analytics as well.
We have, and that's really useful. Some people like to use it for local program inserts, while perhaps most money is in the advertising.
Yes. And that means, of course, that validating that the signaling to put advertising in the broadcast is pretty critical, because that's where the money is, right?
Really is. You need to prove that you have had advertisement opportunities in the signal, as many as you have promised, and for the times, and also lots of signaling going on there as well. So also here you can also drill down in the hex codes if you really want of the advertising inserts.
Wow, I'm again blown away, because this is just, crazy useful.
And if you pair this, for instance, with the timeline feature with thumbnails, and you can then actually go in and see that you did the switches, and you can see the pictures after you did the switch.
Oh, that's just awesome.
But that's probably a topic for another day.
That is topics for another day. There is a lot to do. Before we leave you to develop the next generation of fantastic stuff, Frank, let's talk about the compare feature, because that's pretty powerful.
It is, and especially if you have a hybrid environment. We have both IP inputs and RF outputs. This can then also be used in the VBC server, so you can then compare the signal at different locations in the network. Here we see it within one probe, but can then also do it across different probes.
This is awesome, and that means that it's very, very easy to see, again, what is going wrong at various stages of the signal. Let's say in a probe, satellite probe, or terrestrial probe, you'll be able to see it on the IP layer, the ASI layer, and also on the terrestrial layer. Yeah,
allows you to track it throughout the signal.
Yeah.
And this is not just on the transport stream level, it's also on a service level. So it still works if you do multiplexing of the signals. You can have satellite input with one set of MPTSs, and then you have an IP network with SPTSs, and then you mux it to MPTSs again at the end. So it allows it to follow one specific service from MPTS to SPTS and back to an MPTS.
And possibly demuxing and still follow the service.
Sure can.
Wow, I'm blown away. Well, as you said, we are not going to spend all evening here, but because we could. This is, a lot to talk about.
We can dive into all the specifications if you want.
Oh, I'm so tempted. Shall we? Okay, now we're going to leave you to, again, be able to develop more of the super goodies, Frank. So basically, thank you very much for joining us, Frank, and thank you very much to Rolf demonstrating all these fine capabilities. Here we go, thousands of streams again. Oh my goodness, it's completely bonkers. Well, that's all for today, 1st of December. As you can see, we have put our Christmas tree in a prominent position. And again, if you want more knowledge on the ETR290, we have some excellent training videos on our site, on our YouTube site, where you can go crazy deep. And if you actually go to one of our trusted business partners, they will give you access to our live demonstration system, where you can, again, go bananas, Frank, and really, dive deep.
you can learn all the details and you can be a true wizard when it comes to ETR290.
I like that. We need more ETR290 wizards. So for that, thank you again, Frank, for joining us. And until next time, please visit our website. And don't forget that our Christmas calendar is playing every single day at 9 o'clock. So please subscribe to our channel. And of course, have a wonderful Tuesday.